Today's episode is a bit special, and I feel excited to share it with you. My name is Ariel, and this is Bookish English. Usually I tell you stories, but today I want to tell you a story about learning itself, about how to learn a language in a simple, human way. Maybe you are tired. Maybe you have tried many methods. Maybe you feel confused because everyone online says something different. One person tells you to study grammar for hours. Another person tells you to speak from day one. Someone else says, just watch movies and you will be fluent. It is easy to feel lost. So in this episode, I will not give you magic tricks. I will tell you a clear, simple way to learn a language. And I will explain it like a story from my own life and from the lives of my students. I want you to relax, breathe slowly, and imagine that we are just two friends talking. You are sitting in a quiet room. Maybe you have tea or coffee. You can listen, and you do not need to understand every word. It is okay. Your brain is learning even when you do not see it. Many years ago, when I started learning languages, I made many mistakes. I thought, if I buy a big grammar book, I will learn fast. So I bought a big book. It was heavy. It was full of rules. Every page had strange words, strange symbols, long explanations. I sat at my desk and tried to study. I underlined, I wrote notes, I repeated rules in my head. After 1 hour, my head hurt. After 1 week, I could not remember much. I could pass a test on paper, but when someone spoke to me, I froze. My mouth did not move. My brain went empty. Maybe you know this feeling. In that time, I did not understand one important thing. A language is not a list of rules. A language is a living thing. It is voices, stories, feelings, questions, jokes, mistakes, and connection between people. You do not build a language inside your head like a machine. You grow it, slowly, like a plant. When a child learns their first language, they do not sit with a grammar book. They hear sounds again and again. They see faces. They feel love, fear, hunger, joy. Words are always inside real life. The child does not study. The child just lives, and the language grows inside them. So the first idea for learning a language is this. You need real messages you can understand. Not just words on a list. Not just rules on a page. You need stories, conversations, videos, things that feel alive, things that speak to you. If you are listening to Bookish English, you are already doing this. You are taking real sounds and real meanings into your mind. Even if you do not understand every word, do not worry. Understanding a little more every day is enough. Think of your language level like a small number inside you, your today level. Every time you listen or read something you mostly understand, your level moves a little. It does not jump like magic, but it moves. Maybe today it is 3, and after some weeks it becomes 4. You cannot always feel the moment when it changes, but it changes. That is why simple stories are so powerful. When you listen to a story that is slightly easy for you, your brain feels safe. You are not scared. You are not stressed. You can relax and let the words come in. And when you relax, your brain starts to see patterns. Maybe you hear the same sentence again and again in different ways. Slowly, your brain begins to guess the rule. You do not need to say the rule. Your brain just feels it. One day, your mouth uses the pattern by itself, and you think, "Oh, I did not study this, but I said it correctly." That is the power of natural learning. Many learners ask me, "Ariel, should I learn grammar or not?" And my answer is simple. Grammar is not the enemy, but it is not the main hero. Grammar is like a map. It can help you when you are lost, but you cannot live inside a map. You must walk in the real world. You must step on the ground, feel the air, talk to people. So if you like grammar, you can use it a little. You can read a short explanation and then go back to listening and reading. But if grammar makes you scared or tired, you can ignore it for a long time. You do not need to feel guilty. You are not lazy. You are learning in a different way, a way that is closer to how your brain really works. Another important part of learning a language is this: you do not need to speak quickly. You do not need to speak from day 1, from day 2, or from day 30. You can have a quiet period. You can just listen and read and enjoy. Think of a little child sitting with their parents. The parents talk all the time. "Look at the cat. Do you want milk? Where is your toy?" The child listens and listens. For many months, the child does not say words, maybe only mama or no. But inside, something huge is happening. The child's brain is building a language system. It is seeing connections, making guesses, checking them, changing them. Then suddenly, one day, the child says a full sentence. The parents are surprised, but the child has been preparing for a long time. You are not a child, but your brain can still learn in this slow, deep way. So if you feel silent, do not panic. You can still show that you understand. You can nod your head. You can say, "Yes, no, I don't understand. Please repeat." You can use your face and your hands. These small things are communication, and they help your brain feel safe and active. Slowly, when your mind is ready, your mouth will follow. It is also important to choose content that feels friendly to your heart. If you only read serious textbooks, your emotions will be flat or even negative. You might feel bored or stupid. And when you feel bad, your brain closes its doors. It says, "This is danger. I must survive, not explore." But when you like the story, when you laugh, when you feel curious, your brain opens. It plays with the language. It takes the words and makes new shapes inside. So choose things that you enjoy. It can be simple stories, easy podcasts, short videos, little comics, even children's books. Some students feel ashamed to read easy books. But easy books are not for stupid people. Easy books are smart tools. They move your language forward without pain. In Bookish English, I try to speak in a way that is clear and gentle. I repeat ideas in different words. I make the language simple but not babyish. I want you to feel like an adult who is learning, not like a child who is lost. So, as you listen to my voice today, remember this: your job is not to force the language. Your job is to meet the language many times in a way you can understand. The language will come to you if you give it time and kind attention. Another key idea is that learning a language is not a straight road. Many learners think like this: I will study for 1 month, and every day I will feel better and better. Every week I will be one level higher. But in real life, learning does not feel like that. It feels more like climbing a mountain in the dark. Sometimes you move up. Sometimes you feel you are not moving. Sometimes you feel you are going backwards. 1 week, everything feels easy. The next week, everything feels hard. Maybe you listen to a podcast episode and think, wow, I understand so much. Then tomorrow, you listen to another episode and feel lost. You think, have I forgotten everything? Am I stupid? No, you are not stupid. This is normal. When you learn a language deeply, your brain is always changing inside. Sometimes it is collecting pieces. Sometimes it is organizing them. Sometimes it is cleaning and throwing away strange ideas. You cannot see this work, but it is happening. When your brain is reorganizing, you may feel slow and confused, but after that time, you often jump to a new level. So if you feel like you are stuck, remember, you might be in a quiet growth period. Do not give up. Keep giving your brain good input and trust that change is happening under the surface. One practical way to help your brain is to repeat content with love. Many learners think repetition means failure. They think, if I listen to the same story again, it means I am bad. But this is not true. Think again of children. Children love repetition. They say, read it again, again. They watch the same cartoon 10 times. They never say, I already know this. I must watch something new. Because their brain knows a secret. Repeating something easy is powerful. When you listen to the same Bookish English episode 3 times, something simple happens. The first time, you understand the main message. The second time, you notice new words and small details. The third time, you start to really own some of the phrases. They become part of your language. Later, when you want to speak, those phrases jump out of your mouth without effort. So do not be afraid to repeat. It is not going backwards. It is going deeper. Another very human part of language learning is emotion. Maybe in your school, emotions did not matter. The teacher said, be serious, sit straight, do your homework, learn this list of words. But in real life, your feelings are a big part of your learning. If you feel anxious, if you feel shame, if you feel that people are judging you, your brain creates a wall. It is like a filter that blocks the language. You may sit in a class, but nothing enters your heart. You only think, I hope I don't make a mistake. I hope they don't laugh at me. This kind of fear is heavy. It kills your energy. That is why it is so important to create a safe space for yourself. If people around you are always correcting you in a cold way or laughing at your accent, try to spend less time with them. Try to find at least one person who is kind. Maybe a friend who is a bit better than you. Maybe an online teacher who understands this way of learning. Maybe even just my voice here in Bookish English. When you feel safe, your brain opens the doors and lets the language in. You also need to be kind to yourself. Many learners speak to themselves in a very negative way. They think, my pronunciation is horrible. My memory is bad. I am too old. I will never learn. But imagine a friend talking to you like that every day. Would you feel strong? Would you want to keep going? Probably not. So please, do not be that cruel friend to yourself. Try to speak to yourself like a gentle teacher. You can say, today I did not understand everything, but I showed up. I listened. That is brave. I am growing slowly. These small sentences of kindness are like water for your language plant. Another thing many people ask is, how many hours should I study every day? This question sounds simple, but it is a bit tricky. Of course, more contact with the language is better. If you listen or read for 3 hours a day, you will learn faster than if you only do 10 minutes. But time is not the only important thing. What matters is also how you feel and what you do with that time. If you force yourself to listen for 2 hours with a tight stomach and a tired mind, you will probably learn less. But if you listen for 40 minutes with curiosity, maybe walking, maybe relaxing in bed, your mind will be more open. So instead of asking, how many hours, you can ask, how can I make the language part of my life? For example, you can listen to Bookish English while you wash dishes, while you walk to work, while you sit in the bus. You can read easy stories for 10 minutes before sleep. You can change your phone language when you feel ready. You can put small notes in your room with sentences you like. These are not extra things. This is the real learning. It is slow, soft, and constant. One more important idea is about speaking practice. Many courses say, you must speak from day one. Even if you know only 10 words, just speak. For some people, this works, and it feels fun. If you are that kind of person, you can do it. But many learners feel pressure when they hear this advice. They think, if I do not speak from day one, I am a coward. I am failing. I want to remove that pressure from you. Speaking is not the first step. It is a result. When your brain has received enough understandable language, it will start to push words out. Of course, you can help this process with gentle speaking practice. For example, you can talk to yourself. You can describe what you see. I am in the kitchen. I am making tea. The water is hot. The cup is white. You can do this in a quiet voice. Nobody needs to hear you. You can also repeat sentences after me when you listen to Bookish English. This is called shadowing. You hear a sentence, and then you say it with a small delay. You do not need to copy me perfectly. You just try. This way, you give your mouth a chance to feel the language, but without heavy pressure. Over time, when you feel safer, you can find real people to talk to. Maybe a language partner online, maybe a class that uses stories and games, maybe a small group where mistakes are welcome. But remember, speaking is a step that can come later. You are still a real learner, even if you are quiet now. There is also a big difference between learning about a language and living in a language. Many schools focus on learning about the language. You learn the names of tenses. You learn what present perfect or subjunctive means. You learn to label parts of a sentence: subject, object, clause. This can be interesting if you like grammar, but it does not automatically help you speak and understand. It is like learning everything about swimming by reading a book, but never going into the water. You may know many words like breaststroke and backstroke, but if you jump in a pool, you will still panic because your body has never felt the water. Real language learning is going into the water. It is messy. It is wet. Sometimes it feels cold. Sometimes you swallow water. Sometimes you are tired and you just float on your back. But little by little, your body understands. Your arms and legs move in a new way. You stop thinking about every muscle. You just swim. So how do you live in a language if you do not live in a country where people speak it? The answer is to build a small language world around you. You can make your phone and your computer partly in the new language. You can follow simple accounts on social media that post in that language. You can listen to easy podcasts like Bookish English every day. You can put on background audio while you cook or clean. You can sing along to simple songs. You can write a few lines in a journal each night, even if they are full of mistakes. Your life becomes full of small touches of the language. This kind of environment is powerful. It reminds your brain, this language matters to me. This is part of my world now. Another useful tool is to think in the language, but very gently. Many teachers say, you must think only in your target language, and this sounds scary. It feels like too much, especially at low levels. So I suggest small moments of thinking. For example, you can choose one activity, like making breakfast. During breakfast, you try to think in the language as much as possible, but you keep it very simple. You do not build long sentences. You just think, egg, bread, I eat, I drink tea, this is hot, this is good, that is enough. Later, when you feel stronger, your thoughts can grow, but even tiny thoughts are useful. They help your brain connect the language with real life, not just with textbooks and screens. Also, when you think in short, easy sentences, you learn to accept being simple. Many learners want to speak in a complicated way too early. They want to sound like a native speaker who has used the language for 30 years. When they cannot do it, they feel ashamed. But if you embrace simple language, you can communicate much faster. Imagine you are in a foreign country and need help. You can say, "Excuse me, would you mind kindly informing me where the nearest bus stop is located?" Or you can just say, "Bus stop, where?" The second sentence is simple, but it works. Over time, your sentences will grow by themselves. Good input will feed them. But in the beginning, simple is strong. Another thing that helps many learners is to have small, clear goals. I want to be fluent is a big and vague goal, and it can feel too far. It is like saying, I want to climb the highest mountain in the world, but you never look at the next step in front of you. So break your path into pieces. For example, you can say, for the next 30 days, I will listen to Bookish English for 20 minutes every day. Or, each week, I will learn 5 phrases that I really like and use them when I can. Or, this month, I will finish reading 1 easy book. These goals are small, but powerful. When you complete them, you feel success. Your brain gets a message. I can do this. I am the kind of person who finishes language tasks. That feeling keeps you moving. Also, try to focus on phrases, not just single words. Many learners write vocabulary lists like this. Apple equals Seb, table equals mez, window equals kidki, and so on. This is better than nothing, but it is thin. Words alone have no home. They are like people standing alone in a big empty room. Phrases give words a home, a room, a family. For example, instead of just learning the word table, you can learn put it on the table, sit at the table, under the table. These small chunks are very natural. Native speakers use them all the time. Later, when you want to speak, these chunks come out of your mouth easily, like small songs. You do not need to build the sentence from zero. You just join ready pieces together. You can collect phrases from podcasts, from stories, from conversations. When you hear a sentence that feels useful, you can pause, repeat it, maybe write it in a notebook or on your phone. Then, in the next days, you can try to use that sentence in your own life. For example, if you like the phrase, take your time, you can use it with friends or even say it to yourself. Slowly, it becomes part of you. Another gentle tool is to talk back to what you hear. When you listen to Bookish English, you do not have to be a silent listener. When I say something that you like or understand, you can answer in a small voice. You can say, yes, I know, me too, really. Wow. This seems silly, but it keeps you active. It makes the listening a real conversation in your mind, not just sound. You can even pause the audio sometimes and answer a question more fully. For example, if I say, think about a time when learning felt easy for you. You can stop and really answer, in simple sentences. This kind of practice is private, but it builds your speaking muscles. One more fact that many learners forget is that mistakes are not just normal, they are necessary. Every correct sentence you say is sitting on top of many wrong sentences from the past. There is no other road. Even native speakers make mistakes all the time. They start a sentence and then change it. They forget words. They say funny things. So when you make a mistake, you can change your story about it. Instead of thinking, this shows I am bad at languages, you can think, this shows my brain is trying. I am exploring. I am alive in this language. Of course, correction can be helpful sometimes, but it should be soft and rare, not constant and painful. When you are telling a story, the most important thing is the message, not each ending on each verb. Good teachers understand this. They help you be brave first and perfect later, maybe never. At Bookish English, I also try to create this feeling. I am not here to judge you. I am here to sit with you on your language journey, to tell you stories, to share ideas, to remind you that your path is your own. You do not need to copy someone else's method exactly. You can take ideas from me, from other teachers, from books, and then build your own small system that feels kind and human. There is another thing I want you to remember. Your body is part of your language learning, not just your brain. When you sit very stiff in a chair, with your shoulders tight and your eyes hurting, it is hard to enjoy the language. So sometimes change your position. You can walk slowly while you listen. You can stretch your arms. You can look out of the window at the trees, the sky, the people. When your body feels more free, your thoughts become more free too. Some of my best language learning moments came when I was not studying in the traditional way. I was on a train, listening to an easy story. I was walking in a park, repeating simple phrases in my head. I was lying on the bed, half sleepy, listening to an audiobook that was a little below my level. I was not forcing myself. I was just living, and the language was a soft background music to my day. These moments add up. They may feel small, but together they make a big river of input that carries you forward. You do not need every session to be perfect or focused. It is okay to have light language time and deep language time. Both are useful. Another helpful idea is to connect your language with your identity. Many learners say, "I am bad at languages," as if it is part of who they are. Maybe a teacher told them this long ago, or maybe they failed an exam once and never forgot it. But you can rewrite this story. You can start to see yourself as someone who learns languages slowly but surely, or someone who enjoys simple stories in another language, or someone who builds habits step by step. These are much kinder identities, and they sit more softly in your heart. The words you use about yourself are also language input. If you keep telling yourself, "I am bad," that sentence becomes stronger and stronger inside you. But if you gently start saying, "I am learning," "I am improving," "I am curious," that becomes your truth over time. Some people find it helpful to write a small letter to themselves as language learners. You can write something like, "Dear me, I know this feels hard, but I am proud that you are trying. You have many other things in life, and still you show up for this language. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to keep going. I am on your side." You can read this letter again on days when you feel low. Another practical part of learning is choosing the right level of material. If the story or podcast is too hard, you will feel lost, and your brain will work too much just to survive. If it is too easy, you may get bored. The sweet place is where you understand most of what you hear or read, maybe 80 or 90%. But there are a few new words or patterns. You can guess these from context. You do not need to pause every few seconds to check a dictionary. In Bookish English, I try to stay near this sweet place for many learners. I use simple words and repeat important ideas. But if an episode feels too hard for you, it is okay to go to an older, easier one, or even to children's stories from somewhere else. This is not a step down. It is a smart step to the side. You are listening to your real level, not your ego. And if something feels too easy, you can still use it for other skills, like shadowing, or for listening in the background while you do simple tasks. You can also adjust how deeply you work with one piece of content. For example, the first time you listen to an episode of Bookish English, you might just listen and relax. The second time, you might pause sometimes and repeat interesting phrases. The third time, You might write a tiny summary in your own words. The same material gives you many chances for practice, and you feel more confident each time. Another powerful practice is to connect your new language with your native language in a smart way. Translation is not always bad. Sometimes translating short phrases helps you see the difference between how your language works and how the new language works. The problem is, when you always translate word by word in your head while speaking, that makes you slow and tired. So, here is a middle way. You can choose a few key sentences that are useful, write them in your language and in the new language, and read both versions a few times. Then, try to say them without looking. Later, when you speak, your brain might pull the whole sentence from memory without needing to translate each word. It is like installing useful programs in your mind. Also, do not be afraid to use your first language to support your learning in other ways. You can watch explanatory videos in your language that talk about how to learn without stress. You can read articles about methods that encourage natural learning. When you understand the why behind what you are doing, you feel more motivated. You see that listening to easy stories is not childish. It is smart and based on how the brain works. Another interesting thing that happens when you learn a language slowly and naturally is that your way of thinking can change. Each language has its own rhythm, its own way of organizing ideas, its own favorite phrases. When you spend time in a language, some of these patterns come into your mind. You may find yourself thinking in shorter sentences. You may discover new ways to express feelings that you never had in your native language. This is one of the gifts of language learning. It gives you more shapes for your thoughts. So even if your main goal is very practical, like getting a job or passing an exam, remember that there is also a deeper gift. You are expanding who you are. You are becoming a person who can see the world from another angle. That is beautiful and brave. Exams are another topic we should talk about. Many learners need to pass a language exam for work or study. Exams usually focus on grammar, writing, reading, maybe listening. They rarely test your true comfort in the language. So you might think, if my goal is an exam, I should just study the exam tasks, nothing else. And yes, some exam practice is important. You need to learn the format, the timing, the common question types. But if you only do exam tasks, you may become a test-taking machine, not a real language user. In fact, many students who spend time with easy, interesting input do better on exams in the long term because their base is stronger, their reading is faster, their listening is clearer, their writing flows more easily because they have seen many natural sentences. So, even if you have an exam in the future, keep a big part of your time for pleasant input. Let bookish English stories and other simple materials feed your real language, and then add exam practice on top as a special skill. It is like building a strong body first, and then learning a particular sport. The sport becomes easier when your body is ready. Another thing I want to share is the idea of seasons in learning. In some periods of your life, you will have more time and energy. You may listen for hours, read many books, practice speaking often. In other periods, life will be heavy. You may be busy with family, work, health, or other problems. Then you may have only 10 minutes a day, or you may stop for a week or a month. This is not the end of your story. It is just a season. When you return to the language, you do not need to feel shame. You can say, I am back. I am starting from where I am now. The language will still be there, waiting. Some things you learned before will come back faster than you expect. Your brain did not delete everything. It was just sleeping a little. So please, do not see breaks as failure. See them as part of a long relationship. You and the language are like two friends. Sometimes you talk every day. Sometimes you are quiet for a while. But the friendship can still grow over the years. One more gentle but important idea is community. Learning a language completely alone is possible, but it can feel heavy and slow. When you have even a small community, everything changes a little. A community does not have to be a big class or a busy group chat. It can be just one friend who is learning with you, someone you message once a week to say, hey, I listened to this episode, or I read this story. You can share small victories and small problems. You can say, today I understood a joke in the language, or today I felt stupid in class, but I will try again tomorrow. When another person says, me too, the weight in your chest becomes lighter. You feel less strange, less alone. You can also join online spaces where people talk about learning in a kind way. Be careful, though, because some places create pressure and competition. If you see people always showing how many hours they studied and you feel bad, maybe that place is not for you. Look for spaces where people talk honestly about ups and downs, where they celebrate small steps, not just big wins. In the Bookish English community, in my mind, you are not just students. You are readers, listeners, thinkers. You are people who choose a softer way to learn, who believe that understanding and enjoyment matter more than speed and showing off. Another helpful habit is to review your journey from time to time. Our brains are very good at forgetting progress. We remember the times we failed, not the times we improved. So maybe once a month, you can sit down and ask yourself some simple questions. For example, what can I do now that I could not do 3 months ago? Can I understand more of this podcast than before? Can I read a page more easily? Do I feel less scared when I hear the language? You might write your answers in a notebook. When you see your progress in black and white, it becomes more real. You can also keep small language souvenirs from your path. Maybe your very first writing in the language with many mistakes. Maybe a simple text message you sent to a friend. Maybe the first book you read with notes in the margin. Later, when you feel stuck, you can look at these souvenirs and remember how far you have come. Another important point is to let the language touch different parts of your life. If you only meet the language in a study corner, your brain will connect it only with work and effort. But if your favorite song, your relaxing podcast, your funny video clips, and even your cooking recipes are sometimes in the new language, it will feel more natural. For example, if you like cooking, you can watch simple cooking videos in that language. You will learn words like mix, boil, add, cut, salt, sugar. These are not just vocabulary items. They are real tools you use with your hands. The words and actions connect, and this makes memory strong. Or if you like games, you can play a simple game in the language, maybe with subtitles. If you like drawing, you can watch art videos with easy explanations. When your hobbies and your language come together, you do not have to choose between relax and study. They become one thing, and that is very powerful. Now I want to talk about listening more deeply, because listening is one of the best ways to grow your language, especially at the beginning. When you listen, try not to fight the audio. Do not try to catch every word and hold it in your hand. Instead, let the words come and go like waves. Your job is to feel the general meaning. You can imagine that you are lying on a beach. The waves come, you feel them, and they go back. You do not try to catch each drop. If your mind wanders for a moment, it is okay. You can gently bring your attention back. If a word is repeated many times and you feel curious, you can guess the meaning from context. Later, if you still wonder, you can look it up quickly in a dictionary. But try not to stop the audio too often. Stopping all the time breaks the rhythm and makes listening feel like a test, not a story. Of course, sometimes it is useful to do slow listening, where you pause and rewind and repeat, but not every day. Let most of your listening be easy and flowing. Reading is similar. When you read easy stories, try to keep your eyes moving. If you meet an unknown word, look at the sentence around it. Ask yourself, can I guess the meaning from this situation? If you cannot guess and the word is not important, you can skip it. If the word appears again and again, maybe then you look it up. But do not turn your reading into a dictionary exercise. The main goal is to enjoy the story. Your understanding does not need to be perfect to be useful. Another nice habit is to read aloud sometimes. When you read a story out loud, even if you are alone, you give your mouth and ears extra practice. You feel the rhythm of the sentences in your body. You hear the music of the language more clearly. You might feel shy at first, but remember, nobody is watching. You can read one page aloud and then continue silently. This small action helps you move from just knowing the language to feeling it. Thinking about pronunciation, many learners are very worried about their accent. They think, if I do not sound like a native speaker, people will not respect me. But this is not true. There are many strong, successful people in the world who speak with clear foreign accents. Their accent is part of their story. Of course, if your pronunciation is so unclear that people cannot understand you, it is useful to improve it. You can do this by shadowing, by repeating after audio, by recording your voice, and listening calmly. But you do not have to delete all signs of your origin. Your goal can be clear and comfortable, not perfectly native. Remember, your voice in another language is still your voice. It carries your history, your culture, your emotions. That is something to be proud of, not ashamed of. Finally, I want to bring all these ideas together in one simple picture. Imagine that learning a language is like growing a garden. At the beginning, the ground may be dry. You plant a few seeds. These seeds are simple words, phrases, easy stories, friendly podcasts like Bookish English. You water them with time and attention. You give them light with your curiosity and joy. You protect them from cold winds of shame and harsh criticism. You pull out a few weeds of negative thoughts. You do not shout at the seeds and say, "Grow faster." You cannot shout a plant into growing. You just keep showing up day after day. Some days it rains. Some days are cloudy. Sometimes you feel nothing is happening. But under the soil, the roots are spreading. One morning, you see a small green leaf. You smile. A few months later, there are many leaves and some flowers. You can now read a book more easily, have a short conversation, understand a podcast without subtitles. In the future, there may be fruits. You may work in the language, travel freely, make new friends. But even before the fruits come, the garden is already beautiful. The process itself has changed you. You have learned patience, kindness, and trust. You have discovered that slow, gentle work can lead to deep results. And every time you listen to a story here on Bookish English, every time you choose an easy text instead of a hard, painful one, every time you say to yourself, "It is okay to be simple," you are taking care of that garden. You are not just learning a language. You are creating a softer way of being with yourself.